Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to Broadleaf's first B2B e-commerce fall webinar series. Today we're talking B2B payments, covering full-service payment processing with Broadleaf integration partner TransFirst. And this is Brad Buell of Broadleaf, and I'm joined today by Dan Palmquist, Executive Director over TransFirst's e-commerce services and corporate sales business unit. Dan, thank you for joining me today.
Good morning and good afternoon. Thank you, Brad.
Today we'll briefly be covering Broadleaf in the B2B space, followed by an introduction to Broadleaf integration partner TransFirst. We'll cover the joint value proposition and discuss TransFirst's payment solutions, not only among e-commerce, but across multiple channels, providing a unified payments view. We'll summarize the strategic points, and we'll end with a question and answer session. As always, feel free to use the chat feature of WebEx to pose questions during the webinar, and we'll work to answer each question that's asked. Broadleaf is an enterprise open source e-commerce solution. We're made for implementing customized or bespoke solutions, and we use popular open source technologies like Spring and Java to ensure lower total cost of ownership, not only due to lower license costs and better technology, but also a more highly leveraged workforce. Our multi-tenant edition in particular is gaining traction in the marketplace among B2B, B2B2C, and even B2B2B2C providers. Parent organizations are able to much more easily manage a network of geographically dispersed locations among different reseller, distributor, brand, franchise, and OEM models. And Broadleaf includes features such as advanced content management, as well as workflow and approvals process. We have full modularity, ensuring you only implement the feature sets you need for your business. We have high levels of performance and horizontal scalability, and the best total cost of ownership in the industry. And while we will continue to iterate on Broadleaf to continue to be the best enterprise open source e-commerce framework hands down, we also have a partner-centric approach to integration such as payment gateway and processing services, which further reduces an organization's PCI risk using processes such as tokenization and reduces costs with services such as interchange optimization. So as I switch the controls now to Dan, let me take you through Broadleaf's view of the differentiated reasons for integrating with TransFirst. First of all, we see a highest level of customer satisfaction among TransFirst merchants. Second of all, we work at an executive level to integrate the technology and ensure that we're aligned from a service perspective. And third, we see TransFirst being a very competitive payment gateway and having processing fees while offering a full-service multi-channel offering. So Dan, with that, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Brad, for the intro. What I'm going to do here is go through the PowerPoint slide, and so as Brad indicated, if you could on the chat feature once we've completed this and I can review those, we'll go through the questions hopefully line by line. And some of your questions might even be answered as we're going through the slide here. Just again, building on the overview that Brad had indicated here, we are what I would say a very technology-forward institution where we look at payments as our core competency. So specifically addressing the needs of the Broadleaf client base, we do focus in this particular business unit on the B2B transactions, primarily e-commerce, card not present. While we do have the resources and expertise to delve into other formats of processing, such as retail and card present, our mastery with the sales relationships here in my office is the focus on the B2B transactions and optimizing the interchange expense associated with these unique transactions. And I'll briefly read through this. TransFirst has developed a professional consultative staff that is well-trained on the merchant processing industry and the increasing complexities of the MasterCard and Visa interchange fee system. Our sales staff is unique in their focus on consulting with prospective relationships to understand each unique operating environment and to educate our clients on the proper operating procedures and most current technologies within the electronic transaction processing industry. This process is necessary to optimize the Visa and MasterCard interchange system to reduce overall fees while creating administrative efficiencies. So what I want to focus on there, it's not just about price. It's about designing to use Brad's word, a bespoke solution that fits the administrative benefit of the client end user, as well as looks to optimize the fee structure within the Visa, MasterCard, and now American Express interchange systems. There are quite unique ways that each company needs to process transactions, as well as the way they want to account and look at their reporting. And when they reconcile, it's about having the best process to minimize full-time employee expense as it relates to creating reports, ad hoc, what have you. So we look at the whole end-to-end solution rather than just a pricing format. Not to say that we're not competitive. We are, obviously, but what we look to do is to find out what the solution looks like and then design based on that and then be competitive to that solution. TransFirst provides payment processing capabilities within the Broadleaf e-commerce solution, providing clients with lower payment processing costs, better customer service, and PCI compliance. PCI compliance is among the highest priorities that we have, as our core competency is processing payments. Our focus is making sure that each payment technology and solution provided is running with the highest levels of compliance required, as well as even things that may seem to be unnecessary, but in our view are prudent in managing the transactions and liabilities. TransFirst has additional payment processing capabilities, expanding the integrated point of sale and mobile processing, as well as understands the complex processing relationships for B2B and B2C solutions. So while we understand that we have many clients that are focused on B2B, sometimes they also have a B2C solution, so we're equally equipped to provide a solution for those transactions as well. Broadleaf and TransFirst have a more strategic relationship than others in the industry, providing a higher level of attention at the account management, technical integration, and pre-sales levels. And what that translates to is most of the large clients that this office has a relationship with have a specific individual point of contact within our company. And so it is really a one-point resolution. Question support is only going through one individual rather than a general customer service line. So that's one of the things we pride ourselves on, is that level of client service. It truly is a partner with our clients. A little bit of history about the company. We started out as ACS Merchant Services, really a technology provider in the solution space, and that's where the company provided payment services to their software solutions of ACS, Affiliated Computer Systems, and that's really the culture in this company. It's very technology forward and focusing on obviously the payments industry, but our focus obviously is always going to be payments technology, not being a bank or other affiliated programs that many other financial institutions have. So the benefit you're going to receive is always cutting-edge technology, security, and access to emerging opportunities. Up to in 2013, we've grown up to 48+ billion in process volume, 465+ million transactions, and over 200,000 merchants, and continuing to grow very aggressively. Some of our breakout of the portfolio, some of the things to point out: business and personal services, 18%. Health medical services, again, dealing with a large software population. Wholesale, 11%. And education, not-for-profit, public service, again, 9%. So large sectors within our portfolio are really dedicated to a back-end technology provider behind in enterprise software systems and such as the Broadleaf programs. So our expertise really is in the integrations and running the background transactions that support the software modules. A little bit of information on our, again, culture. We look at, on the left, the merchant's needs are always growing, emerging, and evolving. And our attempt is always to master a one-size-fits-all for the solutions needed for that merchant. What we look for is a single end-to-end processing platform where the merchant really is only dealing with one significant relationship. Integrations are seamless with the partners. Multi-channel capabilities. Obviously, most merchants have a need that is beyond the scope of just one opportunity. They look to grow and evolve their own commerce and opportunities, so we're looking to obviously enhance that as well. Features and functions are always made for the user-friendly end-user environment. Best-in-class 24/7 security. Our support is all domestic. So we have operations based in Broomfield, Colorado, executive offices in Hauppauge, New York. I'm based out of Southern California, and we have significant offices throughout the U.S. The quality of service is one of the things we really pride ourselves on. And in fact, our Net Promoter Score is very significant, which is a measure of our own clients and their perspective on our level of service. So we have a very high Net Promoter Score, and that's really the measure of our success when we are able to keep clients and build on our portfolio based upon referrals. Merchant support, again, this is also a broad scope of how we as a company are viewed. 85% are one-call resolution on the first call. 8.1 seconds as far as follow-up on a call in. 97% interval attainment. Calls abandonment is less than 1%. Service level attainment at 100%. So our standards are very high, and our ability to maintain the service level agreement with our clients is, again, the highest of priorities. And we have basically our customer client services are focused on the one-stop national account manager is the primary. And then in the more unique technical aspects of how we'll support a relationship, we also have the pod for performance optimization delivery, and where we have one section that has a client team based with tech, merchant outreach, quality, escalation for management, and higher level Tech 2 support all within that pod. So there's ease of communication and delivery of needs for the client. A brief overview of some of the other aspects of how we support and can enhance the Broadleaf experience, within the field of the merchant's needs. We have our own point of sale system for integration and the mobile environment as well. So it's a register solution for cash as well as using tablet technologies. And that aspects of servicing for the B2C environment is an enhancement we've just introduced this year. Again, full mobile optimization on transactions. Gift cards and loyalty are part of our products. Mobile readers, virtual terminals, countertop wireless, compliance, and again, most significant, especially in the B2B environment, you're dealing with large transactions and sometimes infrequent, but the perspective that we take on that is that those are even higher concern for the businesses that we're a service for, because that is the majority of their revenue and cash flow is a result of that B2B environment. Breach coverage and PCI loss coverage and PCI compliance support and services. So we do have a program that also covers the exposure for breaches that may occur for the end user merchant, and our ongoing PCI compliance requirements and annual updates are top priority. Something that we've introduced this year, we were one of the first to market, is the ability to settle Amex. So in the B2B environment, when we are looking to support our clients, a high degree of volume can come from American Express. And in the American Express, environment, we have a ability to settle the transactions as well. So beyond just the reporting, but the actual settlement. And with that ability to settle, you are having one-stop reconciliation of all the batch with Amex, Visa, MasterCard, and Discover. A huge step savings with regards to reconciliation and a price that is very competitive, if not less than existing rates with Amex Direct. So this is a program that, again, introduced this year. We were one of the first to market, and our ability for support of the B2B market is very much enhanced with this program with American Express directly. Just some highlights, proven expertise in the payment processing, and just to expand on that, in the B2B market, our expertise is the focus of optimizing the interchange and the data required to settle these transactions at a better qualified rate. In that process, we're obtaining the critical information to reduce the overall exposure, not only from the issuing cards that your clients are paying with, but for you as the merchant. In that process of categorizing detail for the transactions and the fields required, we can auto-populate certain details that are a result of the card type provided in the purchasing and commercial card payment data range. And we also provide the level of detail in a custom format for those that have maybe specific purchase order details they want to convey within the transaction. So again, solution-based and bespoke for the individual user, and the detail we can provide is without barriers to anything that most consumer as well as merchant needs are. Solution-based consultative sales expertise. So in the process with our quoting of the opportunity, we get a statement from the prospect. We do an analysis based upon the optimizing of how we can impact the settlement of the transactions. And we also interview them to see what pain points they might be experiencing, what future growth opportunity they're looking at, and enhancements to technology that we can help with facilitating greater detail on. Best-in-class operations, retention, and net promoter score. So the way we win our clients month over month is without an early termination fee. We have such a solution-based, client-centric focus. We do believe that our clients are retained through service month over month rather than some of these egregious cancellation fees that are out there with some merchant providers. And because we can do a line-for-line detailed analysis on the prospective savings and best-in-class settlement, as well as follow that up a month later with showing and reflecting the detail of what we did achieve, it really provides a great deal of faith in our level of expertise and services to our clients. Innovative product solutions. So what we do is we're doing a constant touch base with our larger clients and showing them emerging technology and ways to better their process and security within the transaction. So that's an ongoing process where technology evolves, and we make sure that our clients are up to speed on the latest available. So with that, I'll end the formatted PowerPoint, and we can open it up for any discussions or questions that Brad might want to serve up, and then the client base, so we can answer those as we go. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. So let me get it back onto our presentation. That does conclude the prepared portion of our webinar today. So if you do have questions, then please use the chat feature of WebEx to type them in. We already have a few questions in queue, and Dan, it looks like the first couple are for you. So the first is, what if I have high ticket volumes or large average order value, or AOV? What does that do to my rate? I'm assuming a processing rate.
Sure. There are specialized interchange levels devoted towards these large tickets. Our focus is identifying those as we do the analysis, and the parts that are most impactful on this level of transaction are getting greater detail so that we can qualify that interchange on the large ticket variables that allow for the best in class settlement and reductions in overall cost for that transaction.
Perfect. Next question, Dan. Are purchasing and corporate card transactions different from regular credit card transactions?
They are, in fact, in many cases, they're viewed as a slightly higher risk transaction because of the variables of how those cards can be used and the aspects of the vulnerability to being charged back for unauthorized use. And that is why more data captured means a more secure transaction, which in turn reduces the cost of the interchange for the right detail provided in that transaction. And that's, in fact, where our specialty really lies, is in appropriating the certain levels of detail required to reduce and optimize that interchange level. So, in fact, in October, there will be an increase to corporate and purchase card transactions from an interchange cost standpoint. So our expertise in reducing that cost will be more significant as we see that shift occur in the month of October and November billing from the providers out there. So we'll look to save at a minimum probably an additional 20 to 30 basis points on volume just by avoiding that higher interchange rate that is going to be rolled out this month from the card associations.
Okay, the third question I think I'll start with, Dan, and then pass it over to you. The question is, what's the quote to card process with Broadleaf and TransFirst? So, the consultative answer is that depends. Of course, we have different clients that have different quote to card processes with Broadleaf, depending on different items such as what is a purchasing authority for their individual corporate clients, and then how do they reconcile it in the back end? Do they reconcile it through Broadleaf, or do they reconcile it through an ERP system integration? Dan, I don't know if TransFirst has anything within quote to card, or if you view those transactions as any different than regular transactions.
Great question, Brad. We view the transactions as they're coming through. We underwrite the risk up front and then use a risk method of transactional variances to identify exposures on double keying or fat fingering. So ultimately, we can catch those things before they become an issue or a chargeback. So the process by which we do that is initially we underwrite the average ticket. We look at the volume that is assumed to be the case. And then if with exceptions, we may approach the merchant and ask them to identify the transaction details and provide documentation where necessary if there's a variance that they feel is accurate but ultimately appears to be outside the range. However, when most of these situations occur, it's as a result of lack of information. So we avoid that detail by providing the proper B2B structure within the transaction, which holds the detail of that transaction in a higher regard and less risk. So as that occurs, we are managing each transaction efficiently and so as not to cause an exception or delay any settlement of the transactions. And to go back on part of your question, as we look to engage a client, we simply ask for a statement to do a review and an analysis line by line. And then based upon that statement, we provide them a very detailed analysis that shows how we can impact their settlement, the best steps to reducing the variables that strike a transaction and cause it to settle at a less than optimized interchange level. So with that, it's a very simple process for the quoting, and we provide that level of detail with no obligation, obviously.
Excellent. That actually goes right into the next question, Dan, and it's what are the main pieces of information needed to identify my company's qualifying rates?
And so the majority of that is through the statement of their current activity provided by the merchant services provider they have the transactions running through now. And then obviously we'll have a short conversation. Sometimes it involves the CFO or controller and a little bit of IT, probably no more than about 10 minutes, just again to interview their current status of pain points possibly, what they expect to have in settlement of transactions in the future. Are they growing or are they consolidating operations, and any impact that we foresee that would cause transactions to be impacted from additional volume or higher ticket, or in fact lower reductions as well. So we look at all of those aspects. We look at their current acceptance of ACH transactions, and our ability to process ACH as well can further enhance their end-to-end solution. So we can provide those transactions along with the credit and debit transactions facilitated in that B2B environment.
All right, this next question I think I can handle. It's a question about how hard it is to integrate TransFirst and Broadleaf, and I'm assuming that the question there is how long is it going to take? We normally will see a couple of weeks between running in parallel kind of the onboarding on the TransFirst side as well as integrating into your environment, making sure that you're QAing everything appropriately and able to put it in production. So again, we would see a 2-week time period for when you make the decision, getting everything in and ready to go.
And I would, absolutely. And in fact, the process by which we underwrite the account volume is a matter of days. So it's generally well within that 2 weeks. We can have the application to approval and setup of the back-end parameters prior to the certification on that integration being complete. And again, painless, obviously no interruption and ability to process transactions. And the security is all validated and through a QA process that is very complete.
All right, well, that is the remainder of the questions that I've got from the group. I will wrap up here and let us know if you do have any other questions before we end it. But thank you all very much for joining. You can always head to transfirst.com/LP/Broadleaf if you would like to apply for a TransFirst account and start integrating it into a Broadleaf implementation. You can always call either Broadleaf or TransFirst in order to start the discussion. Thank you all very much for your time today. We will have this webinar available on Broadleaf's YouTube webinar channel later today or early tomorrow. Thank you again for joining, and we hope to talk to you soon. Dan, thank you again for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right. Bye-bye.